Alright students, then let us go ahead and study the structure of the heart. Now first and foremost, what is the heart? Heart is our organ and the heart is a pumping organ. Remember that we have this body fluid that is called as blood. What is the function of the blood? The blood has to transport different substances like oxygen, nutrients, hormones, etc. to each and every cell of the body. So for this blood to be able to reach each and every organ, there has to be an organ which pumps this blood so that the push of this organ can help the blood being transported to all the parts of the body. So the heart is that organ and this is our pumping organ. What is the shape of the heart? Now if you look at the diagram, the heart is a conical organ. Do you see that on the upper side it is broad and on the lower side it is tapering? And this tapering is towards the left. Our heart is as big as our fist and it lies right in between our lungs, and the heart is tilted towards our left, which is why when you want to hear your heartbeat, you go to the left of your chest. That is where you can feel your heartbeat because the heart is tilted to the left. So what did I tell you? The heart is a pumping organ, it is a conical organ, and it tapers towards the left. Let us then see the internal structure of the heart. The heart has four chambers. To be specific, the mammalian heart has four chambers. Out of these four chambers, the upper two chambers are called as the auricles. I can say one auricle and two auricles. Other than auricle, we use one more term. It is called as a atrium. I can say one atrium and two atria. So once again, the heart has four chambers. The upper chambers are called as the auricles or the atria, and the lower chambers are called as the ventricles. The upper chambers, that is the auricles, are called as the receiving chambers. Why are they called as the receiving chambers? Because the auricles receive the blood. Now once again, what did I tell you the heart is? I said that the heart is the pumping organ, correct? So what will happen is the blood from all over your body will first go to the right auricle. You'll be like, why will it go to the right auricle? Because that is where the blood's journey starts from. The blood from all over your body will reach the right auricle, and this blood which is going into the right auricle is the deoxygenated blood. Basically the blood that does not have oxygen, which we also call as the impure blood. So the deoxygenated blood from all over the body has reached the right auricle. Now when I say from all over your body, understand that your heart is in the center of your body in your chest. So the deoxygenated blood from the lower parts of your body will enter the right auricle through a tube which is called as the inferior vena cava. I'll repeat, the blood has to flow throughout your body, correct? And when it flows throughout your body, it flows inside these tubes which we call as vessels. And because these vessels carry blood, we call them as blood vessels. And the major blood vessel that carries the deoxygenated blood from the lower parts of your body into the heart. Which part of the heart? Right auricle is called as the inferior vena cava. In the same way, there is another vessel that carries the deoxygenated blood from the upper parts of your body, like your head, neck, etc. And this deoxygenated blood is carried into the same chamber, that is the right auricle, and it is called as the superior vena cava. So we have the superior vena cava, we have the inferior vena cava carrying the deoxygenated blood into the right auricle. Now from the right auricle, the blood then moves into the right ventricle. So for this to happen, there is this small opening. Do you see this opening? This opening is between the auricle and the ventricle, and it is an opening. So it is called as the atrioventricular aperture. What is the opening called? Atrioventricular aperture. And this deoxygenated blood has hence traveled from the right auricle into the right ventricle through the atrioventricular aperture. Now from the right ventricle, the blood has to go to the lungs. You'll be like, why does the blood have to go to the lungs? Because in the lungs, the deoxygenated blood will get converted into the oxygenated blood. And this process is called as oxygenation of blood. So that means the deoxygenated blood has to go to the lungs, right? So there has to be a vessel that carries the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle into the lungs. And this tube is called as the pulmonary artery. Do you see this tube here? It is called as the pulmonary artery. And if I ask you, what does the pulmonary artery carry? It carries the deoxygenated blood. That is one thing that I want you to remember here. Remember, all the arteries of your body carry oxygenated blood. I'll repeat, all the arteries of your body carry oxygenated blood. Then you'll be like, but the pulmonary artery is carrying deoxygenated blood. Because pulmonary artery is the only exception. Listen to my statement clearly. All the arteries of your body carry oxygenated blood except the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. And now, where will this deoxygenated blood go? Into the lungs, correct? What did I tell you? Is the lung going to carry out here? The lungs are going to carry out The lungs are going to carry out oxygenation of blood. And now this oxygenated blood is carried into the left auricle. Yes, this complete loop, that is from the right ventricle to the lungs, and now the blood is back into the left auricle. So now I will not talk about deoxygenated blood because now it is the oxygenated blood. The oxygenated blood is carried into this chamber, that is the left auricle, via these four tubes. These four tubes are the pulmonary veins. Now once again, the veins of your body carry deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary veins. The pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood from the lungs into the left auricle. And how many pulmonary veins can you see? Look here. 1, 2, then there is 3 and 4. These four pulmonary veins have now introduced the oxygenated blood into the left auricle. Now from the left auricle, the oxygenated blood will be carried into the left ventricle. Now again, there has to be an opening between the two, right? This opening has the same name like on the right hand side. And the name is atrioventricular aperture. There. Now the oxygenated blood is in the left ventricle. By the way, the left ventricle is the largest chamber of the heart. Also, it has a thick wall because the left ventricle has to push the blood into all the organs. So, the left ventricle needs to have a lot of pressure, which is why the left ventricle has a thick wall. And the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle then goes into the aorta, And from the aorta, there are lots and lots of branching vessels which will transport the oxygenated blood into all the parts of the body. So as you can see, this large blood vessel is the aorta. So did you understand? Deoxygenated blood entered the right auricle, then it went into the right ventricle, then from there it went into the lungs, from the lungs it came back into the heart but in the left auricle, from the left auricle it came into the left ventricle, from the left ventricle into the aorta and to all the parts of the body. Now there are these structures which are called as the valves. What are valves? Understand that valves are like doors, okay? What do they do? Understand. If I ask you, the blood moved from right auricle to left